It was supposed to be another lively, punchy episode of The View, brimming with hot-button topics. Celebrity charm and the usual swirl of opinions. The producers were confident about the lineup. Whoopi was back in her chair. Sunny was prepped. With her legal takes, Sarah had her timely anecdotes. And Joy Behar, fiery and unfiltered, was set to lead a discussion on Hollywood accountability. And the day's special guest, Mark Wahlberg, veteran actor, producer, and fitness entrepreneur with decades of stardom behind him. But what no one in the studio realized was that this episode wouldn't end in polite applause or backstage. Selfies. It would spiral into one of the most talked about, volatile daytime moments in recent TV memory, a collision of values, personalities, and unspoken grudges. From the moment Mark stepped onto the stage, something felt off. His trademark. Confidence was present, but it crackled with a different kind of energy bristling, perhaps already defensive. Wearing a tailored charcoal blazer and a white t-shirt, Wahlberg offered his usual charismatic smile to the audience, but it didn't quite land. Joy Behar, sensing the temperature, launched straight into the interview with a joke that, while meant to be playful, sharpened like a blade. "So Mark," she quipped, "you've played a lot of tough guys in movies, cop, soldier, boxer. Do you ever think about playing someone humble?" Laughter rippled through the audience, but Wahlberg's smile twitched. The jab lingered. It wasn't just the words, it was the tone, the timing. And he wasn't in the mood for games. Mark chuckled tightly. "Well, Joy, I saved the humble roles for real life," he said, his Boston accent slicing through the air with calculated calm. "But I can pretend to be a wisest if that helps the segment." The tension spiked subtly, but palpably. Whoopi arched a brow. Sunny glanced down at her notes. Sarah attempted to pivot with a lighthearted question about Wahlberg's new wellness venture, but the unease hung in the air like fog. The energy refused to settle. Joy, ever the provocateur, wasn't finished. She'd seen Wahlberg's recent comments in a podcast interview where he criticized cancel culture and hinted that Hollywood elites had become soft. Now, that comment hadn't gone unnoticed, and she intended to address it --head--on, *let's talk about something else, Joy said, leaning forward, voice laced with equal parts amusement and challenge. "You've been pretty vocal about cancel culture lately. You think people are too sensitive now? That no one can take a joke?" Mark blinked slowly. He adjusted in his seat. "I think people have forgotten what it means to disagree without trying to ruin someone's life," he replied. "We've lost the ability to talk to each other without calling for heads to roll." "That sounds nice," Joy replied, "but let's not pretend cancel culture just fell out of the sky. It's often people being held accountable." "You had a rough past?" Mark, people brought that up again. "You think that's unfair?" A hush fell. The air tightened like a drawn bow. That question, the insinuation, was no longer playful. Was a landmine, and Joy had stepped on it deliberately. Wahlberg's expression shifted. The charm drained from his face, replaced with something colder, harder. "I've spent 30 years trying to make things right. I've talked about my past. I've paid my debts, personally and publicly," he said, his voice lowering. "You want to keep dragging that up every time I open my mouth? That's not accountability, that's blood sport." Joy didn't flinch. "No one's dragging it up, Mark, but when you criticize a system that finally makes room for people to speak out, especially people who never had power, people are going to ask what side you're really on, what side I'm on." Mark repeated, incredulous. "I'm on the side of people being allowed to change, grow. You want everyone frozen in time, stuck at their worst mistake forever?" The audience murmured, some nodding, some visibly uncomfortable. The panel looked rattled. Whoopi interjected, trying to de-escalate. All right, let's bring it down a notch," she said, her voice carrying that familiar tone of maternal authority. But it was too late. The spark had caught the dry kindling. Mark Wahlberg leaned forward, placing both palms on the table. His voice dropped again, deliberate and edged. "You sit here with a mic and laugh lines, and you want to lecture me on growth? You ever had to earn your way back from anything? Fight for every inch of ground people said you'd lost forever?" Joy's eyes flared. "Don't get personal with me, Mark. I ask questions. That's my job. You came here, you agreed to talk, And now you don't like it because it's not. Softball hour? No, Joy, Mark snapped. I don't like it because you're not listening, you're attacking. You've decided who I am before I walked in, and nothing I say matters to you. Oh, please, Joy fired back. This whole tough guy routine is exhausting. You want to be the victim now? You. Asterisk. Wahlberg stood up. That did it. Chairs scraped. Whoopi put a hand up to stop him. Producers offstage panicked. The director frantically motioned to cut to commercial, but the audio was still live. Mark looked down at Joy, his voice now barely above a whisper, but seething. I came here out of respect. I should have stayed home. And then, to the shock of everyone, he tore off his mic and walked off the stage. No goodbye. Your handshake. Just an actor, a man, a father of 4. Storming away from the smoldering battlefield of daytime television, asterisk the audience gasped. One of the crew members tripped over a cable trying to catch up with him. Joy muttered something under her breath, likely not meant for broadcast. And somewhere deep in the control room, a network executive reached for the strongest coffee money. Goodbye. Social media exploded within minutes. Mark Wahlberg walks off The View, the headline screamed. Clips flooded Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Commentators, fans, critics, everyone picked sides. Some hailed Joy as a fearless interrogator holding a Hollywood hypocrite accountable. Others praised Mark for standing up to what they saw as bullying, masquerading as journalism. Memes surfaced within hours, Joy in gladiator armor, Wahlberg in a ring of microphones. Asterisk later that night, Mark posted a statement on Instagram. A single sentence in stark white text on a black background. If you're only welcome when you agree. It's not a conversation, it's a trap. The post went viral. Joy, for her part, brushed off the drama the next morning. We had guessed it got heated. We moved on. But everyone knew they hadn't. The segment rewrote the boundaries of morning television. It showed that even the most seasoned guests, even the most unshakable hosts, could collide in ways that rewired public discourse. In one fiery exchange, The View had become a powder keg and Mark Wahlberg had lit the fuse. The fallout from the clash reverberated like a cannon blast through every corner of the media landscape. Within 24 hours, the internet was ablaze. News sites scrambled for scoops, late-night comedians polished monologues, and pundits sharpened their knives. Clips of the confrontation surged through every platform like a digital tsunami, dissected frame by analysts and amateurs alike. For Mark Wahlberg, it was more than just a walk-off. It was a national moment one he hadn't asked for, but now had no choice but to own. His team huddled in a sleek Beverly Hills office, PR reps and managers poring over Twitter trends, reviewing footage from every angle. There were concerns about the optics, about the long-term damage to his image, about how this would play with studios and sponsors, but Mark didn't flinch. Sitting at the head of the conference table, arms crossed and jaw tight, he was resolute. He knew exactly why he walked off that set, and he wasn't going to apologize for it. Asterisk back in New York. The View buzzed with internal panic, even as the hosts tried to keep their faces straight on camera. Joy Behar in particular was under pressure. ABC executives weren't thrilled. About the confrontation going nuclear, the show had flirted with controversy many times. Charette thrived on heated debates and clashing ideologies. But this was different. This wasn't political pundits screaming over each other about supreme court decisions. This was a Hollywood Alistair storming off live television after accusing a longtime host of launching a personal attack. And what made it worse was that viewers couldn't agree on who was in the wrong. Some thought Joy was doing her job. Others believed she crossed a line that no interviewer should. And in the center of it all stood Mark Wahlberg. Suddenly the face of righteous indignation, or brittle ego, depending on your lens. Asterisk Joy, never one to cower from backlash, responded with typical bravado on the following episode. Look, she said to the camera, if you come on this show, you know we ask real questions. If you can't handle that, maybe this isn't the couch for you. Laughter from the audience. A smattering of applause. but it didn't land quite like it used to. Because while Joy had always been sharp, there was now a growing chorus questioning whether sharp had slid into mean. And Mark, he wasn't done either. He made a surprise appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon just days after the incident. When Fallon tried to tread carefully, asking about that little TV moment, Mark smiled, collected, but unmistakably driven. "I'm not here to relive it," he said, "but I'll say this. If we live in a world where honest disagreement is treated like hostility, we're in trouble. *The